Hello and welcome to the Sausage Curb. My name is Rich and this is your daily dose of F1 news. Today we're going to be talking about Pietro Fittipaldi and him continuing with Haas. We're going to be talking about Stefano Domenicali and the Las Vegas Grand Prix, and also different bits to do with Helmut Marko and Mercedes and Vowles going to Williams, and Ferrari hitting the track for the first time in 2023. Please do make sure you're hitting that like button, guys, and also subscribing to the channel. But we'll get straight into it with Pietro Fittipaldi. Now, I guess this is one of the lower down drives, but he has been confirmed as the reserve driver for 2023 for Haas. This began in 2019, and I think there are probably better drivers you could have as the reserve driver. He's done a few sessions, and you've seen bits and bobs from him, but I have to say, I don't think he's there because he's going to step in and be an amazing driver or anything. I wonder if that reserve role is better filled by someone better. Maybe I'm being too harsh. I'm not sure, but I've never seen anything from Fittipaldi, which is unbelievable. Maybe he has in other series. Good morning, everyone. Please do make sure you're smashing that like button. So Fittipaldi confirmed now as the reserve driver for Haas in the next season. He will take over if Magnussen or Hülkenberg are unable to race for some reason. But 26 years old, he's not like Nick de Vries sat there. He hasn't got as much talent as him, in my opinion. But he had to say, I'm very happy to be continuing with MoneyGram Haas F1 team, a team that I consider family. It will be my 5th season in Formula One as the official reserve and test driver for Haas, and I'm super excited to be going into 2023, coming off the back of a very competitive season. Last year, I did 2 free practice sessions, tested at the beginning of the year and at the end of season tests, so we've already been able to try some stuff for the new season. I'm excited to see the new developments, and I hope we're able to make an even bigger step with the VF23. And it just doesn't. It just look. I'm not knocking the kid. I'm not knocking the kid, but Stephen in chat saying most likely a money move. I don't think Haas need the money now. I think this MoneyGram deal. They've already said the MoneyGram deal takes them up to the cost cap now. I don't think they need the money, if you like, for that. So Gunter Steiner has said that the Brazilian is an asset to the team and will come in at short notice if necessary. I've said before that continuity and consistency is key to success in Formula One. And Pietro remaining with the team for 2023 makes me believe that we have strong foundations. Obviously, that doesn't apply if your name's Schumacher. In Formula One, you need to be able to react with the smallest of margins to any scenario, and Pietro is a proven performer and is ready to step in at any time to get behind the wheel and drive as he did in 2020. Last season, he took part in pre-season testing, 2 free practice sessions, post-season testing in the VF22, and surprisingly, unlike many drivers on the grid, he said this car suits his aggressive style, which is music to my ears when track time is so limited. He's an asset to our team, so I look forward to seeing his continuation with us this season. He wants to drive in Formula One. Steiner is going to tell you that it suits his style, isn't he? But there we go. Pietro Fittipaldi confirmed as the Haas reserve driver. I could probably say a few more things about that, but there we are. That's the first order of the day. Into the next part of news. Now, this is somewhat meatier. Now, Helmut Marko, he loves to say stuff, doesn't he? He just loves to talk, and he's been talking about Williams and Vowles going to be team principal there, and he's been talking about what that could mean and what's happened. And he was asked if he believes that it strengthens Mercedes' position in Formula One, and he said no. He's got totally different information. He said that Vowles went of his own accord. So it is said he's even taking good engineers with him, and his sources tell him the mood at Mercedes is very tense. And these were direct quotes to Sport One. He suspects that the departure could have an immediate negative impact on Mercedes. He said, we'll see, but I still believe that Mercedes will be our biggest challenger when it comes to defending our title this year. I would imagine that Helmut does know a few things, but the fact of the matter is Helmut Marko says a lot, and honestly, he hardly ever seems to be right in the stuff that we've reported, that we've brought to you guys. He seems to like to stir the pot. He doesn't seem to often have any kind of proof or backup for anything apart from the fact he's Helmut Marko. The amount of times we said stuff on this channel that Helmut Marko has said that seems controversial, that comes to pass, is simply controversial. That there is no basis for it. He says something and nothing ever comes to pass from what is said. Now, did Vowles take any engineers with him to Williams? Is very possible, but were those engineers coming to the end of the contract? Were they naturally leaving of their own accord anyway? You know, we don't know the full story, so there's plenty of ways to slant this. Maybe nobody went with Vowles. You know, everything coming out of Mercedes is that he went with sort of encouragement and support, if anything, because they really wanted to allow him that freedom to go and do something new and try something new. And I've not seen anything so far to back up what Marko is saying here. That I've certainly not seen anything here to back up. My sources tell me that's why the mood at Mercedes is so tense. I've not seen anything about that. Everything that Toto Wolff has said, or the few things that Lewis Hamilton have said, or anyone else involved, Mercedes seems to be business as usual. So I feel like that's Helmut Marko being Helmut Marko. Honestly, I'd love to know what you guys think on that. Do you think there's any truth in it? Do you think anything at Mercedes is tense? Do you think Marko ever says anything worth any value? But I thought I would bring that to you guys. Onwards, Stefano Domenicali. Now, I am going to do a video, hopefully later today, on the whole FIA versus F1 value thing. We kind of covered it the other day on the show, and the only comments we got were people not particularly bothered. But I think the whole financial side of F1, FIA, and how those two intermingle, it's worth a chat if you're into the sport. So I'm going to do a video later on today about that whole situation. But what I'm actually going to talk about here is the Las Vegas Grand Prix, because Stefano Domenicali has been saying that F1 is going to be in Las Vegas for a very, very long time. Please do smash a like on the video and hit that big red subscribe button that should be down below me just here, guys. So he's been saying that they're probably going to move it to earlier in the season as well. And the truth is that they sold out so quickly on the first wave that the European and Asian fans didn't even get a chance due to the time zones to participate. So the Las Vegas Grand Prix is super, super popular, apparently. Now, we've all seen, or we should have, and it's something I've been talking about for a very long time. I immediately thought the casinos and different resorts in Las Vegas would buy up tons and tons of tickets, create expensive exclusive packages, and sell those for a king's ransom. It comes to pass that's basically exactly what's happened, with lots of them buying lots of tickets, selling them with rooms and different packages, and them costing an absolute fortune, way beyond what a normal person can afford. Which maybe that's the point. Maybe that's what they're trying to do with Las Vegas. Maybe they're trying to make it so that people who like racing can't go and watch it, and it's just for Z-list stars to go and wander around the grid and be rude to Martin Brundle. Maybe that's what Las Vegas is all about. I don't know. I've never been. and I don't know the intent. I hope it's a success. It's already a financial success for them. I hope the racing's good. But they've said that they're going to be there for a long, long time, and that they're going to have a continuous flag in the city. We're going to mark, not only for the week even, but we're going to mark F1 in Vegas as a place we want to develop and will develop the sport. And it's an interesting one with more and more races now. We have the Middle East. They've got 4 races this season, and there's even talk now that another race might be in North America in the coming seasons. I don't know where they'd put it. I guess, where else would you make money? I think that's the place that they'd put it in America. So those of you that are more in tune with American geography, over and above Miami and Las Vegas, where would you put a race to make money? And I think that would be a good shoe-in for the next venue in Formula One. I don't know. I mean, obviously, as an Englishman, I've heard of Miami. I didn't know it was particularly well off or anything, but I've definitely heard of Las Vegas. People have. Where else would they put a race? Pascal in the chat saying New York. New York's a possibility, I suppose. I wonder about the difficulties of running a race in New York. Would the, again, bow to anyone who knows America better than me, would running a race in New York be more difficult than Las Vegas, or would it be just as challenging? I feel like running a race in actual New York would be difficult because it just strikes me as a horrendously busy city. But I mean, again, I'm just speaking about what I see on TV shows and stuff. You know, it might be absolutely fine to run a race there for 1 week of a season. Washington, D.C., around the White House, joking, of course. I just don't know where the money is in America, and I think that's what the target. It wouldn't be for what I'd like to see, where you go to a Watkins Glen or you go to a Road America or something like that, where you've upgraded the safety standards, but you give it some history. Like, I know it was disastrous back in the past for 1 year, but I loved going to Indianapolis because there was so much history in Indianapolis that I'm led to believe Indianapolis is basically in the middle of nowhere or something. But still, I don't know. Where would you like to see another American Grand Prix? I think it's going to happen. I truly think it's going to happen. I think in the next 3 or 4 seasons, we might start to see murmurings of another North American race, which I don't specifically have an issue with, but there has to come a critical point where you've got enough races on the calendar, right? So there we go. They're basically saying they're going to be there for a very long time. And there are reports saying that the impact will be $1.3 billion that it's going to be worth to Las Vegas. So we're not talking chump change here. We're talking a lot of money is passing a lot of hands for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. So if you're talking in the billions of dollars for one race, I think we could be seeing another race very, very soon in North America. It makes races. I bet Silverstone makes nowhere near that much, and it worries me. It does worry me. How much does Spa-Francorchamps make? How much does Monza make? How much does Silverstone make? You know, at what point are they going to filter out these historical tracks that we all know and love, but it's all about money? When are we going to see them start to phase those out? And look, people might say it'll never happen. How much do people scream for Old Hockenheim? How much do people scream for Sepang and things like that? And you know, I worry that that's the direction Formula One's going in. LA, California, that's probably a good shout, Nick. But isn't that geographically really close to Las Vegas? Don't know. But I see what you're saying. I worry, yeah. I do worry, not so much about North America, but if you're talking North American races, I think there's going to be more. If you're talking Middle East races, and there's 4, At what point are they going to say, right, the calendar's busy enough, now we're going to start phasing out, I mean, to me, you could lose Imola. And while it's got loads of history, it's not great. You know, less complexity. Not a bad shout, actually. Loads of Z-listed stars, less complexities than New York. Actually, you know what? It's a good shout, Nick. It's a good shout. LA, California. It's a good shout. It's a good shout. Yeah, it could happen. It could happen. Maybe I should do a video on that. Potential F1 venues in the future. But I thought I'd bring that to you because I suppose that's a whole other subject, isn't it? Okay, and the last thing I wanted to talk about today was sort of the title story, is that Ferrari have taken to track for the first time this season. Now, this is becoming a bit of a tradition for Ferrari, where they go to Fiorano with their previous season's car, and they take the engineers and they take some drivers, and they basically have what they are calling a wake-up test, where they have, I think it's a day or 2 days, where everyone just sort of, wakes up and has a test and gets back into it. Now, I don't have any idea if other teams are doing it. We do, if you remember, I'd have to go back and check. In this period now and into February, teams are doing those Pirelli tyre tests, and I reported this back on the channel. Well, it was just after the end of last season, that in December, throughout January and beginning of February, many teams are doing Pirelli tyre tests. So maybe they're using those as their sort of wake up tests. But Ferrari did theirs before Christmas at Fiorano. But what happened was Giovinazzi, their hypercar driver, was there on Tuesday and did 35 laps in wet and cold conditions. And then he handed over to Robert Schwartzman, who did 77 laps. Sainz was also there, and 3 Ferrari Academy students were there. Arthur Leclerc, Maya Wing, and Aurelia Nobles were there to observe how F1 teams operate. And Sainz will be taken to the track next to do more laps, which is probably, well, what day is it? It's Wednesday now, so this was yesterday. He might be on track today then. So they got to do their wake up test, and I think it, these days they can't do testing, can they? But it's interesting, isn't it? Because it would be my opinion and thought that any running would be good running, any running at all, even if it's last year's car, genuinely with last year's specs. I feel like any running is good running because they'll learn something if they want to, And it's not that they're cheating or anything, because it's an old car on their own track. It's basically akin to, well, apart from the fact it's last year's car, actually, is it last year's car? It might be the year before's car. But it's akin to just taking out any car at Fiorano, but still, you never know. They could be learning bits and bobs while they're doing it. But even if they're not learning anything to do with a car, it's good for the drivers, right? To get in an F1 car, to get desensitized a little bit, ready for the new season, and maybe hit pre-season testing running. And we are, of course, hitting that season now. We're hitting pre-season. We're about to hit all the car reveals and everything like that, which I'm going to be covering on the channel definitely. Every day when a car is revealed, I'm going to be covering it on the channel for sure. I'm really hoping to have a good year on TSK F1. We're going to be covering the preseason, the car reveals. We'll be doing watch-alongs. I'm going to be trying to do watch-alongs for every race. And I'm going to ask if people want me to do watch-alongs of the free practice sessions as well, which I don't mind doing at all. I just need to know if people want me to do those. But there we are, guys. That's the news of the day, this Wednesday, the 25th of January. Thanks so much for joining me. Please do remember to smash a like on the stream and also subscribe to the channel. I'll be back tomorrow morning on TSK F1 with your latest news. And I am going to go and stream on Twitch now, on twitch.tv/pitlanes, with some Red Dead Redemption 2 today. So please do join me over there. But thank you very much, guys, and I will see you very, very soon. Cheers.